Defending champion? Dethroned. 5-1 deficit? Erased. Eala just pulled off the comeback of the tournament, and now she's one step closer to the $1.64 million DC Open jackpot. The Filipina superstar was down and almost out against Leylah Fernandez, trailing 1-5 in the second set. But what happened next left the tennis world in shock. 6 straight games. A tiebreak masterclass. And the defending champion sent packing. With back-to-back wins over an Olympic gold medalist and a Grand Slam finalist, Eala is making a statement that nobody can ignore. Is this the run that finally announces her arrival among the sport's elite? Washington, D.C., July 29, 2026. The lights of Rock Creek Park were shining bright. But inside the stadium, something far more intense was about to unfold. This wasn't just any match. This was a chance at redemption. Just 3 months earlier, on the indoor clay of Stuttgart, Leylah Fernandez had dismantled Eala in a match that exposed the gaps in the Filipinas' game. The scoreline read 6-1, 6-4, a comprehensive defeat that left Eala with a lesson she would carry with her all the way to Washington. Fernandez's movement was too crisp, her variety too overwhelming. Eala left the court, knowing she had been thoroughly outclassed. Now they were meeting again. And everything had changed. The stage was the Wimbledon DC Open, a $1.64 million WTA 500 tournament at the William H.G. Fitzgerald Tennis Center. Eala was ranked world no. 28, fresh off a historic Wimbledon run, where she had become the first Filipino singles player to reach the 4th round of a Grand Slam in the Open era. Fernandez was no. 34, the defending champion who had captured the DC Open title in 2025. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Eala had already made a statement in her first-round match, fighting back from a set down to defeat Olympic gold medalist Jung Chinwen 4-6, 6-4, 6-1. The victory had taken 2 hours and 26 minutes, a grueling battle that tested every ounce of her endurance. But there was no time to celebrate. Waiting in the second round was the woman who had already proven she could break Eala's game apart. "I think it's going to be a very tough match for me," Eala said after her victory over Jung. "Leylah is such an amazing player and an amazing person as well. I think right now my first priority is to recover, take care of my body, so that I can arrive in the best shape possible for me." She had every reason to be concerned. Fernandez had made quick work of Magda Linette, winning 6-1, 6-4 to set up the showdown. When Fernandez was asked about Eala earlier in the year, her words had been diplomatic but respectful. "She's a great player. She's young and she's doing amazing things," she had said. "It's really cool to see another Filipino, especially a lefty like me, doing great things on the tour. But respect doesn't win matches." And both women knew it. The crowd was electric. Philippine flags waved from every section. The chants of "Eala! Eala!" echoed across the stadium. Under the bright lights of Rock Creek Park, 2 women with Filipino roots prepared to do battle. Who would emerge victorious? The first set had been a masterclass. The second set was a nightmare unfolding in slow motion. And then Eala did what she does best. She refused to quit. The match against Leylah Fernandez had started perfectly for Eala. She dominated the opening set, winning it 6-2 in just 34 minutes. Her ground strokes were finding their mark. Her movement was crisp. The defending champion looked lost for answers. But then, Fernandez found her rhythm. The Canadian left-hander who had beaten Eala in Stuttgart just months earlier began to dictate play in the second set. Her variety was overwhelming. Her movement was sharp. She won 5 straight games, racing to a 5-1 lead. The crowd fell silent. The ghosts of Stuttgart were creeping back. It looked like the match was heading to a decider. And Eala's grueling 3-set battle against Jung Chinwen, just 24 hours earlier, was beginning to take its toll. But something happened at 1-5. Something that would change everything. Eala found another gear. She had been in this position before. Against Swiatek at Wimbledon, she had saved match points. Against Rybakina in Berlin, she had come back from a set down. Against Jung in Washington, she had fought back from a set and a breakdown. She didn't fold. She didn't quit. She fought. "I think I had definitely some tough moments in that match, and credits to Leylah. She put me in some real tough positions," Eala said after the match. I'm super proud of how I fought and how I stayed in there. She began to claw her way back. Eala won the next 5 games, turning a 1-5 deficit into a 6-5 lead. The crowd erupted. Philippine flags waved everywhere. The momentum had shifted completely. Fernandez, who had been in control just minutes earlier, was now scrambling. The 42 unforced errors she committed throughout the match were costing her dearly. I know that she was playing a little better, and maybe my level dropped a little bit, Eala said. I think those are very tricky moments when you know your level has dropped and you want to do better, but things just aren't coming out. I think patience was key there and just trying to work it out and have a strong mentality in terms of trying to find solutions. Fernandez managed to hold serve in the 12th game to force a tiebreak. But the tiebreak was all Eala. She grabbed a 5-1 lead, capitalizing on Fernandez's errors. Then, she sealed the match with back-to-back forehand winners, closing it out 7-1 in the tiebreak. The final score read 6-2, 7-6-1. The match lasted 1 hour and 53 minutes. The comeback was complete. The defending champion was dethroned. I think I had definitely some tough moments in that match, and credits to Leylah. She put me in some really tough positions, Eala said. I think I'm super proud of how I fought and how I stayed in there. In the stands, her coaching team celebrated. Joan Bosch, her coach from the Rafa Nadal Academy, and the rest of her team were emotional. Eala later acknowledged them, saying, Joan, who's here with me, is my confidant, Yuke and Sandro. Sandro's birthday was yesterday, so shout out, Sandro. What would you do if you were down 1-5 and everything seemed to be slipping away? For Alex Eala, the answer was simple. Stay patient. Stay composed. And trust that the fight would find its way back, because champions don't quit. And Alex Eala had proven she was a champion. The comeback was complete. The defending champion was dethroned, but the numbers behind the victory tell an even more remarkable story. And they reveal exactly why Alex Eala is no longer just a promising talent. She's a legitimate threat. The match lasted 1 hour and 53 minutes, a grueling battle that tested every ounce of Eala's endurance. She had just played a 2-hour, 26-minute marathon against Olympic champion Zheng Qinwen less than 24 hours earlier. Most players would have been exhausted. Most would have faded in the second set. Eala did the exact opposite. She dominated the first set 6-2 in just 34 minutes. Her ground strokes were finding their mark. Her movement was crisp. But the most telling statistic was the unforced errors count. Eala committed just 4 unforced errors in the entire first set, compared to Fernandez's 14. That's not just winning. That's controlling the match. The second set told a different story, until it didn't. Fernandez found her rhythm, winning 5 straight games to take a 5-1 lead. The Canadian's variety was overwhelming. Her movement was sharp. The ghosts of Stuttgart were creeping back. But Eala refused to fade. She reeling off 6 straight games to complete the comeback, leveling the set at 5-5, then 6-6, before officially closing the deal via tiebreak. I know that she was playing a little better, and maybe my level dropped a little bit, Eala said after the match. I think those are very tricky moments when you know your level's dropped, and you want to do better. But things just, for one reason or another, aren't coming out. But they came out when it mattered most. The tiebreak was all Eala. She raced to a 5-1 lead before sealing it with back-to-back forehand winners. The final score reads 7-1 in the tiebreak. The defending champion was sent packing, and the prize money was substantial. For advancing to the quarterfinals, Eala secured a total of $47,750 in prize money. If she wins her next match, she will add another $43,150 to her earnings, reaching a total of $90,900 for the tournament. Her first-round victory over Zheng had already earned her $24,474, or around P1.5 million, plus 60 ranking points. The ranking implications were just as significant. The victory over Fernandez added 108 ranking points to Eala's tally, pushing her closer to the top 25. With just 163 points separating her from world No. 24, a deep run in Washington could vault her into the top 20 for the first time in her career. What would you do if you were down 1-5 and everything seemed to be slipping away? For Alex Eala, the answer was simple. Stay patient, stay composed, and trust that the fight would find its way back. The scoreboard showed a victory. The crowd erupted in celebration. But when Alex Eala finally spoke, her words revealed the true story behind the comeback. And that story was about something far more important than tennis. It was about mindset. The match against Leylah Fernandez had been a roller coaster. A dominant first set. A second set that nearly slipped away. A comeback that left the tennis world stunned. And when Eala sat down for her post-match interview, she didn't just talk about her victory. She talked about the mentality that had carried her through the toughest moments. The windy conditions, it was definitely a factor, but ultimately something I couldn't control, Eala said, reflecting on the challenging environment at Rock Creek Park. I think I had some tough moments in the match, and credit to Leylah, she put me into some really tough positions. Those words revealed something important about Eala's approach. She didn't make excuses. She didn't blame the conditions. She acknowledged her opponent's quality and took responsibility for her own performance. I know that she was playing a little better, and maybe my level dropped a little bit, she admitted. I think those are very tricky moments when you know your level's dropped and you want to do better, but things just, for one reason or another, aren't coming out. That's the moment that separates good players from great ones. The moment when everything is going wrong and you have to find a way back. Eala had been there before. Against Swiatek at Wimbledon, she had saved match points. Against Rybakina in Berlin, she had come back from a set down. Against Jung in Washington, she had fought back from a set and a breakdown. Each experience had taught her something valuable. I think patience was key there, she said. Just trying to work it out and have a strong mentality in terms of trying to find some solutions. Patience. That was the word she kept returning to. Not power. Not aggression. Patience. The willingness to wait for the right moment. The discipline to stay composed when everything seemed to be slipping away. I think I'm super proud of how I fought and how I stayed in there, she added. The emotional moment after the match spoke volumes. Eala shared an emotional moment with her coaching team, highlighting the trust that has helped guide her progress on the WTA Tour. She acknowledged Joan Bosch, her coach from the Rafa Nadal Academy, and the rest of her team. Joan, who's here with me, is my confidant. I trust in him a lot, as well as my team who's back home. Yuki and Sandro. Sandro's birthday was yesterday, so shout out Sandro, she said. I think it helps me feel like I'm not alone on court. That sense of being supported, of not being alone, was exactly what had carried her through the toughest moments. I do think that representation is a very powerful thing. It's a very meaningful thing. I like to say that it's very impactful when someone sees themselves in you, Eala had said earlier in the tournament. In Washington, that representation was on full display. The Philippine flags that filled every section, the chants that echoed across Rock Creek Park, the emotion that filled the air every time Eala stepped onto the court. This wasn't just about tennis. It was about a community that had found its voice. And Eala, the girl with ruffled socks and light-up shoes, who started on a basketball court in Quezon City, had become the voice of that community. I'm very privileged to be able to carry my flag and to represent everything that comes with that, she had said. I'm very grateful to everybody who comes out to see me. Those words captured everything about her journey. Not just the wins and losses, but the responsibility she carried. The knowledge that her success wasn't just hers. It belonged to every Filipino who saw themselves in her. What would you do if you were down 1-5 and everything seemed to be slipping away? For Alex Eala, the answer was simple. Stay patient, stay composed, and trust that the fight would find its way back. Because champions don't quit, and Alex Eala had proven she was a champion. The defending champion was dethroned. The comeback was complete. But for Alex Eala, the journey is far from over. Standing between her and a semifinal berth is a familiar face or a dangerous qualifier. The quarterfinals of the Mubadala DC Open await, and Eala will face either second seed Elina Svitolina of Ukraine or Uzbek qualifier Polina Kudermetova. The match will be played on July 31, 2026, under the lights of Rock Creek Park. Both opponents present unique challenges. Svitolina, the world number 10, is a player Eala has already beaten. In their lone meeting at the quarterfinals of the Burt Open last month, the Filipina superstar stunned the Ukrainian veteran on grass. But hard courts are a different surface, and Svitolina is a different player. The 32-year-old has been one of the most consistent performers on the WTA Tour for years. She knows how to win. She knows how to grind out victories. She knows how to make young players pay for their mistakes. Kudermetova, on the other hand, is a player Eala has never beaten. The Uzbek qualifier, currently ranked world number 34, has faced Eala twice before, both times on the ITF circuit. At the W50 Indoor in 2024 and the W100 Dubai in 2024, Kudermetova emerged victorious on both occasions. But those matches were on a different stage. Eala was a different player. The ITF circuit is a world away from a WTA 500 tournament, and Eala's evolution has been nothing short of remarkable. "I think I'm super proud of how I fought and how I stayed in there," Eala said after her victory over Fernandez. That fighting spirit will be tested once again in the quarterfinals. The prize money at stake is substantial. For advancing to the quarterfinals, Eala has already secured $47,750. If she wins her next match, she will add another $43,150 to her earnings, reaching a total of $90,900 for the tournament. The ranking points are just as significant. With just 163 points separating her from world number 24, a semi-final finish could vault her into the top 20 for the first time in her career. But for Eala, the money and rankings have never been the point. "I do think that representation is a very powerful thing," she had said earlier in the tournament. "It's very impactful when someone sees themselves in you." In Washington, that representation has been on full display. The Philippine flags that filled every section. The chants that echoed across Rock Creek Park. The emotion that filled the air every time Eala stepped onto the court. Now, the quarterfinals await, and the tennis world will be watching. What would you do if everything you'd ever worked for was finally within reach? For Alex Eala, the answer is simple. Keep fighting. Keep believing. Keep proving that the girl with ruffled socks and light-up shoes can conquer the world. Because she's just getting started.